Hey there. Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 208 is titled, Your Voice Matters with Rachel Ombredane. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Flute 360 podcast episode. This is episode 208 with the one and only Rachel from Rosaway Music. And I am so pumped to be in the same space as her because, as you know, she is a tremendous vocalist, flutist, musicpreneur, and I can't wait to pick her brain. So Rachel, without further ado, thank you so much for being here and welcome to Flute 360.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be with you today. So thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. The pleasure is all mine. And I think I mentioned a little bit in emails, but probably not enough, that right now we are in a series all about your voice and how your voice as a musician matters. And so before we dive into that topic, because I think you are a perfect example of honing into one's unique voice, I would love for you to introduce yourself and talk to the listeners about your journey, the band, whatever you want to share.
So I'm, just a classical trained flutist. I started to play the flute at 6 in a conservatoire in Paris. Then I just did all the things you have to do when you're a classical flutist. And at 18, my professors told me that maybe I could do something in music. So maybe I could be a professional. So I started college and stuff like that, and a lot of auditions, because here in France, we do a lot of auditions. Like I did, I don't know, maybe 10 every year. So it was really challenging. And yeah, I did that. Then I went to college at the Sorbonne in Paris to study musicology. It was actually, I was at the conservatoire for the flute and at the college at the Sorbonne for the musicology. So I did the two in the same time. And it was all about classical music all the time. But every time I was doing an audition, people and professor told me every time, like, you're really special. It's cool, but it's a bit too special. It's a bit too unique. So it's going to be hard for classical music, but you have something. You have a really cool tone, like really unique. But, so I didn't really understand at this time. And at the end of my studies, I was like, okay, so what I have to do? Maybe I'm not in the correct box for me. And I was a bit upset because I never seen music with boxes, actually. So I was like, it's hard for me to say to an artist that you're too special, because for me, art is all about being special and unique, So I was like, it doesn't make sense for me. Like, it was like, when they say that, for me, I think it was like bad, like you're unique and special in a bad way. So I started to think in a different state of mind and say, okay, maybe it's special and unique, so maybe I should do something for myself, not to please a professor or somebody else. So I started to play pop music, so as a backing vocalist. So I sang for Ed Sheeran or for Jane and pop stars like that. And, it just came that I wanted to have my own band. So, I just did Rosaway. So that's all about that.
That's phenomenal. And I love your journey of you having this paradigm shift of saying, hey, maybe unique isn't a negative thing.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's a positive thing. Did you have mentors or friends that helped you in that space at that time to come to that realization? Or was that really on your own?
Both, actually. It's funny because socials actually really helped me with that. Because at the end of my studies, I started to my Instagram account, and I met different flutists actually from all around the world, and especially in the US. And, it's funny because in the US, you guys are not only classical musicians, like you do a lot of gigs, like different gigs in different kind of music. And we don't do that here in France. If you're a classical flutist, you just do classical flute, you know? And I started to just learn that as a musician, you can do almost what you want. It's all about the language, but you can definitely learn another language and just fit to another box, because it's actually just music. It's just the chords are different, but it's just the same. So I started to think like that. And actually, my boyfriend was living in the US. He was playing in a blues band rock band. And I went a lot of time in the US, and I met a lot of musicians. And I started to think like, maybe I can do something different, and maybe I can be just a different person. Like maybe I'm just special. I don't see myself as a special person, actually. I'm just a random girl. But at the same time, if everybody told me that I'm special, let's be special. That's why I started to play electroacoustic flute. Like, just I was so pissed, actually. So like it was like, this brat girl saying like, you think I'm special? I'm gonna do something really special. You know what I mean? So it was at the beginning, it was like that. And then I just started to like that, actually, and to explore a lot of different things I could do, and just, create something quite personal.
Mm.
Yeah.
When you said I'm a random girl or I'm a normal girl, but people see this uniqueness in me. So if I'm unique, let's really blow it up. I had this visualization of like throwing extra bedazzle and extra glitter on it. Like if I'm special and if I'm a light, then let's really light it up.
Yeah. But actually, it's hard to tell, because it's like a bit pretentious, because I really don't see myself as a unique person
Mm.
or a unique flutist. But it's just like people was saying that to me all the time. Like maybe because I don't look like to other musicians, because I'm I'm Black woman and stuff like that. And in classical music, it's something, it's definitely a topic. Like
Mm.
there's not a lot of Black people in classical music. So I think this is something. And maybe, I don't know, I just didn't have the same tone that other musicians, or I don't know exactly. But I said, okay,
Mm.
let's do something special though.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. No, you embraced it.
Mhm.
And, if somebody out there is listening to this right now and maybe they see the signs, maybe they see the breadcrumbs of people saying similar things along their journey, and they want to dive into that space, they want to find their uniqueness and really hone it and bring it to life, but they're afraid. What would you tell them?
I mean, it's a personal journey, actually, because you have to be in peace with yourself, actually. And I think it's the most difficult part, because I really wanted to be a classical flutist. Like it was my dream. Like I wanted to be a soloist in an orchestra, and actually could visualize myself playing classical music. But in the same time, I wasn't really happy when I was playing in an orchestra. So it was kind of weird, but I always try to hide this part to myself. And, because I always play classical music, and I always try to please my professor. So I, I always think that was the only way to be an artist, because it was the only way people showed to me, actually. So I didn't have any other examples. So the thing is, I think with socials now, you can see a lot of different artists. So I think it's great for the new generation of musicians, because they have plenty of choices now they can always create new things, but they have different example of creations. And thinking out of the box is always painful and it's not easy, but in the same time, you understand that it's actually being out of the box is your box. So I think it's just like give you some time just to understand who you are and what you really want, and just don't allow people to say you can't do it, because actually if you want you can. It's just a state of mind. So I think that, but it takes time, so don't be too don't hurry, like I think.
Yeah. Let the flower bloom in its own time.
Exactly.
I love that. That response right there is going to be the quote of the hour. There were so many beautiful gems in there. And the thing that I want to circle back to is you mentioned social media again. Social media sometimes can get a bad rap of, oh, wow, there's a lot of hate and ickiness on social media. But this is the second time you brought it up in a positive light. And you said, oh, wow, look at the beauty of this, where we get to surround ourselves and pull people into our orbits that we may never have met, perhaps in real life, and you get to kind of dabble and notice like, ooh, there's a jazz artist there, a pop artist there, new age. And then what would that look like for me if I'm trying to find that voice and experiment and look and see what others have done and what they are doing?
Sure. But actually there's a lot of hate, but I think I'm kind of lucky because I just had two haters in my entire social life, social media life. So there's not that much hate, but I think it's all about your own state of mind. Like if you are really sincere and really like, I don't know, if you just put outside what you are thinking and what you are trying to do, people will follow you because you are just an honest person. Like you just try. And I think it's okay. And it's scary in the same time because you put outside your try, which is great, but actually definitely scary. But in the same times, it's like freedom. Like it can really free you. Just say, "Oh, I'm trying this," and maybe in 1 month I will like, "Well, that was shit." But I just tried because I think being an artist is all about trying things, new things for you. Maybe it's not new things for the universe, but for you, it's a new challenge, or it's just something new. And I think it's all about that. And but definitely we have to be careful with social medias because sometimes it can be really stressful. It can be, I don't know, because you always compare yourself to other person. But the thing is to really embrace who you are and say, I'm not this person, so I will not do that. And I will try my best to do that, or to go in her way or in his way. But you will never be him or her. So just try to find who you are. And actually, I just take socials like that, even if sometimes I'm really stressed about that. But
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I have said on the show repeatedly before how I've almost embarrassed myself at times because it feels like such a bold statement where I will say out loud, I am not that person, but they are not me.
of course.
And it's almost it's empowering, but to say it out loud, it feels weird at first because you're right. I think like, at least for me, and I don't know if it's like how we're brought up in the different, schools and things like that. And maybe it's just the classical world where we all are trying to fit, well, not all, I'm using this term loosely. We are all trying to fit like in the classical world in that orchestral box. And because of that, I think it's only natural where we start comparing ourselves to one another, right? And so if you're trying to break away from that and say, no, I'm not that person and they aren't me, it feels weird at first, but the more you do it, it goes back to what you were saying, being comfortable in your own skin and honing that and being like, yeah, and power pose, warrior pose, this is me.
Of course. And actually, I think it's important that professors and teachers understand that and try to be careful when they say you should listen to this person and do what he does. Actually, you'll never be Emmanuel Pahud. So don't try to be him, but just take it like an example of a great career, great flutist, but don't try to express yourself like he does. And I think sometimes teachers or professors are misunderstood because they don't use the correct actually words. Don't say you should do like that, but you should take an example, not do like that. Because I think it's a detail, but it's a really important detail when you speak. Like, don't do like, but just try to take example, which is not exactly the same. And I think it's really important because my whole life, when I was a classical flutist, I was like, yeah, I will never be good enough because I'm not Emmanuel Pahud or Jasmine Choi. But it's just that I will never be. But maybe I can do something, and I never think like that. And yeah.
No, I love that. And I wonder if that contributes to a lot of performance anxiety when teachers say, play like that, be like that person. And then because you can't fulfill that, then we start trembling like, oh my goodness, because I'm not sounding like X flutist, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And the minute we can say, oh, this is a good example, try it out, but let's find your voice. Then when you can own that voice, then perhaps the performance anxiety kind of dwindles away because now you're you.
And I think there's another topic which is really important and which was really important for me. It was perfection. Like, I just have the feeling that in classical music you have to be perfect all the time. And you're just a human being, so it's not possible. And I was really scared to be imperfect, which I am. And when I started to play pop music, when I was in bands with other pop music artists, and they were big pop music artists, and I started to understand that they are not perfect at all, like not perfect at all. And sometimes, when they sing, it's just out of tune, but it's okay, because it's not like one note will not define who you are. It's just one note. And sometimes why not? One note is just out of pitch and that's out of tune, sorry, and it's okay, and I started to understand that when I'll be on stage, I will not be perfect for an hour 30. It's impossible. Like for 90 minutes, I will not be perfect the whole time. And on these 90 minutes, maybe I will be perfect for 5 minutes, which is great because it's huge actually, because and and people don't come to see a show for seeing perfection. I think it's all about who you are and why it's interesting to see you perform Mozart, like because I don't know, but I think this perfection thing is really an important topic actually, and you just have to understand that you won't be perfect, so deal with that.
C'est la vie.
Yeah, exactly. C'est la vie.
And you're right. When listeners go to a concert or a performance, they want to feel something. They want to tap into the energy that the artist is bringing. They want to hear the beautiful melodies and harmonies. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And actually, I will take this example with Emmanuel Pahud. Actually, I'm a huge, huge fan of him, like every flutist in the world, and especially in France. And I saw him performed, like it was maybe 10 years ago or maybe more, the Vivaldi pieces. And I think the most beautiful part of the concert was when it just felt like it was so human, like because it's so perfect, but at the second it just failed, it was even more perfect. Like I was like, yeah, this is Vivaldi, it's not perfect all the time. And because when at the second he failed, I could see his real personality, like how he managed to go in the good way, in the good path, because he just failed like maybe 3 notes, which is nothing, but you could see his brain just processing this failure and just trying to be better for the next bar. I don't know
Yeah.
if you understand that, but it was so beautiful actually because it was so human. And
Mm.
I just love this part. I'm sure it doesn't, but it was so cool to see that it's not about perfection and about the pieces.
Mm.
It's about how you will play it and how you will manage to play it the best you can. So yeah.
Here's a brief message from our friends at Song Flute Headjoints. The founder of the Song Flute Headjoint Company is Young Chon Song, and he's had a remarkable career as a teacher before he began making headjoints. He established his Korean company in 2009 because of his love for music and flute making. Later in 2010 and 2011, he learned more about the craft of making headjoints from the Altus flute founder, Tanaka Tsuchi. After this instruction, Mr. Song further researched the different kinds of metal alloys, especially how each alloy's difference changed the character and color of the sounds. Because of this training, Mr. Song's mission is to make a flute headjoint that produces a beautiful sound with these metals and through his craftsmanship. In addition, he considers the flutist's goals when purchasing a headjoint, such as the tonal colors, response, and clarity. Not only did his headjoints bring music to your ears, but they are aesthetically pleasing too. Musicians from across the globe adore the Song Flute headjoint, such as Michel Morgus, Maxence Leroux, Dr. Julie Kim Walker, and Jasmine Choi, and we hope you do as well. Mr. Song wants to assist you as you look for your next perfect headjoint. Please visit their website at songflute.com to contact him today. And you, the listener, can't see this right now, but Rachel's face was lighting up when she was talking about it, and it sounded like a very real and human moment, like you said, and that you could resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, I get you right now. Yes.
Yeah. But actually, it's hard to tell because I didn't analyze this when I saw it. It was after the concert.
Oh.
But when people to ask me what was your favorite moment, and I said, for this piece of Vivaldi, and they say, yeah, he failed. I'm like, oh yeah, he failed. I love that actually. So it was not like when he failed, I love that, but after,
Okay.
So
yeah, having that realization.
Yeah.
Afterwards. Very cool. So circling back to having real moments, right? When I watch you on the stage through YouTube or your music videos, I feel that authenticity and that vulnerability and that realness on stage when you play. And from one musician to the next, I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Feels like a human being really expressing herself on stage with your beautifully written compositions. I was going to say compositions, but the funny thing is when I say that, I think of the traditional sense, but it is a composition, and your repertoire and the pieces that you put together. Do you write a lot of your music?
Yeah. We actually write everything. We are a duo, but now we are a 4-piece band, but we are writing everything with Stefan, who is my partner. And we are writing everything, which is quite interesting because he's a drummer. So he doesn't see the music as I do. So it's funny to just trying to understand music as he understands music, because as a drummer, for him, it's all about rhythm and bass lines. And for me, it's all about melody.
Mm.
And it's really interesting to write music with him because it's so complementary, you say? How do you say that? When something goes with another perfectly,
No,
right?
you said it perfectly.
Okay.
Complimentary.
Yeah, it's really interesting because now I see music, I think, a bit differently than I used to. So, yeah.
That is cool. It's a perfect duo. My my husband is actually a guitarist,
Okay.
and I resonate with what you said, how like your partner sees music and hears music in a certain way. And as flutists, perhaps we hear it in a different way. And when it comes together, it's magical.
Hmm.
Yeah. Very cool. So you have literally traveled the world through your different musical tours. I'm kind of curious. I know it's kind of hard to pinpoint because how do you choose like one of your favorites? Because there are so many. But do you have a few favorite tours or locations where a beautiful musical moment happened and you're like, oh my goodness, that was phenomenal. I want more of that. Or is that kind of a silly question because each experience is unique in of itself?
So, yeah, each shows is different, but for sure, when you play in another country than yours, it's definitely special. Like
Okay.
you can feel that everything is so different, and you know that, but when you experience that, it's so intense. Actually, like we just came back from a tour in the U.S. We played in California and in Boston. It's been 2 years. We didn't play in the US because of the pandemic, obviously. And I knew it was special to play in the US, but this tour was just magical because, it's just so different and the audience are so different. And yeah, it's really intense and it's so cool to just share moments with audience and with the public, and actually it's so intense to play your own music to other people. Like it's just like you are just, how can I say that, show you to the world, like, because I always have the feeling that when I'm on stage I'm kind of naked, so it's weird because I really look for to I really enjoy that, which is kind of weird. But in the same time, I'm afraid of that, and it's just a mix of all these feelings, which are really deep and intense. In the same time, like I just have the feeling that people can really see me,
Mm.
and in the same time, I just show them what I want to show them. But in the same time, they see me more than I want them to see me. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, completely.
So especially because I sing my own songs, so my own words, and it just, I don't know. It's weird, but it's really intense. And actually, yes, I couldn't say that the best shows I had were in the US, but definitely they were really special for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Especially the first one we did in New York. Actually, the band was like just 6 months. So it was a baby band. And we played at the Rockwood Music Hall, which is a really famous club in Manhattan. And at the second I said, "Hello, New York," like I was almost crying, like,
Oh.
I am really saying that right now. Like I'm just a frog from Paris. Like, it was just huge for me. And, just thinking that people can understand my songs, even if my English is not that good. But, like in France, nobody really speak English. So they don't really understand what I say. So I just, when I said, "Hello, New York," I was thinking that everybody is understand what you say. And it was so intense. I was like, shit. So yeah, I will remember this forever, I think.
Oh, wow. What a neat moment.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said about your music, and do you think, and I think you've mentioned it very well, but I just want to circle back to it because it was such a precious moment for me. You said that because it's your music, your words, your composition, because they are your pieces, do you think that nakedness, that vulnerability is like heightened a little bit more because it is your work. You're not singing the words of somebody else, you're singing your words. And so that exposure is highlighted more so.
So, yes and no.
Okay.
So, no, because nobody can tell me that I did wrong because I wrote it.
Yeah.
So, nobody knows. Okay, that's the
Yeah.
no part. But for the yes part, people will judge me. Like, not because I did the wrong note or not because I was out of tune, but because the music is good or the music is not good.
Mm.
And when they say that, when they think that, they, in a way, judge me, as a musician, as a composer, as a singer. So yeah, it's intense and it's scary in the same time, but in the same time it's so cool because I think when you're an artist, you and especially like musician or comedian and stuff like that, you do that to be loved, like to be seen, to be loved. And um when people say I loved your song, it's like they loved me, like, so I just
Mm.
take all this love just for me. And yeah, it's huge, and it's kind of violent too because you're not prepared to that, like last week we played at the NAM show, and there were like more than 1,000 people in the room, and I prepared myself for playing in front of nobody because I was sure that nobody will show up. But there were like 1,000 of people, which was huge, in a big room. And at the end of the show, a lot of people came to see me and say, I love your show, I love your song. And there it was so much love, like and an unexpected love. And I was just so, I think my heart could explode. Like I was like,
Oh.
wow, that's a lot of love, and that's exactly why I'm doing this job, and why is it so important for me. Like it's not, of course it's not all about being loved, but in the same time
Right.
it's like, how can I say that, it gives you like a purpose to live. Like, okay,
Mm.
so what I do is not that bad, and I have something to say, and people can recognize themselves in what I sing or what I say. And yeah,
Mm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it makes sense, but it's a mix of a lot of feelings in the same time. So to answer to your questions,
Yeah.
yes and no.
I love it. And kudos to you to have such a fantastic show at NAM. It's interesting for me to hear you say you were expecting to go into a room and play for hardly anybody, but then to be pleasantly surprised and notice, oh, wow, there's like 1,000 people here right now. How cool.
It was actually cool and really like surprising, and really like, when you as a classical musician, I really prepare myself like a lot. Like I visualized everything before, like to not be like too distracted by things, so I prepared my brain to sing in front of nobody. So when I came on stage and I saw all these people, I was like, okay, I was not prepared for that. It's gonna be okay, but I was not prepared for that. It was really stressful, and at the same time, it was like a wave, like a wave of energy coming on me, and I was like, okay, so they are here because they want to see music, and I'm gonna give them music. I'm gonna do the best I can. So that was like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like in a second, like it's just a swift, like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. I'm ready. Let's go. I
Yeah.
love it. Speaking of love, I love your whole package. I love your voice. I love your flute playing. I love the style. You are so chic. Do you have a stylist, or do you put together your outfits? Because, girl, you are always like on point.
So I don't have a stylist,
Ah,
except for Roseway music videos, because we work with a team.
okay.
But in my life, I just bought outfits and I just wear my outfits. And but actually, I'm a Parisian born and raised, and my mom is a Parisian born and raised, and my
Hmm.
grandma was a Parisian born and raised. So I think we
Yeah.
have something with clothes, and yeah, I just love clothes. And actually, I just have the feeling that you can express yourself with clothes. And
Hmm.
I don't know, as an artist, I think it's important to just not all the time be on point, but just like how can I say that? It's just a part of who you are as an artist. So yeah, I don't know. Or maybe I
Yeah.
just love clothes. I don't
No.
know.
Well, naturally, I was going to say, and I didn't want to assume, but I was like thinking in my head, well, she's a Parisian woman. It's like in your DNA because I don't know, it's Paris, But no, I know what you mean. And I get the feeling, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that fashion plays a part into your music and how you express yourself on the stage. It all goes hand in hand, to see your beautiful dress or your partner's very cool hats. It adds to the experience. It adds to the artistry of what you are singing and portraying on stage.
Yeah, I think it came actually from classical music. You know, when you have to wear black clothes to be in your character. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna play something really important. I'm gonna wear something black. You know, it's just like when I dress to go on stage, I'm like, it's not me. It's not the entire me. It's just the me I decided to be.
Mm.
And it's really important for me to not be the same that I was in the green rooms. You know, so um, it's I think it's all about taking the power, like and being more confident that I am. And I think clothes are and outfits are great for that because you can just hide some part of yourself that you don't want to be or you don't want people to see. And yeah, and that's funny you say that because one of my friends always told me that I don't have one style, but I have many style. Like sometimes I'm really girly, sometimes I'm kind of chic, and sometimes and I said yes because it just depends of the day. So
Yeah. No, I love it. And of the 200 plus episodes that I have done through these past 4 years, I have never talked fashion with anybody else. So I wanted to kind of bring that in just a little bit, only because, like, why not? It's fun. And I like to mix things up on the podcast. So there's that.
yeah, it's funny you say that because think about Beyonce.
Mm,
Beyonce would never be Beyonce without her outfits. Like it's
mm,
her. And think about Lady Gaga. It's the same. Like, or even Earth, Wind, and Fire. Without the glitter, it's not that interesting. Like, I mean, I love their
yeah.
music. Like, I'm a huge fan. But it's the package with interesting.
Yeah.
And I think when you see yourself as a project, like as a brand,
Mm,
clothes is definitely a thing you have to think about, I think.
mm. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we could talk about branding all day long, but I will put a pin in that because that's a whole other conversation.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, I wanted to let you know, without sounding really weird and creepy, that of course I've been following you for a very long time, but I knew I had to talk to you because of what you are putting out into our world and the contributions that you are giving to our community, and what a shining example as a vocalist and as a flutist and honing your uniqueness. I just had to have you on. But then this is like the weird part. But then, so you were kind of on my radar for a very long time. But then a couple of months ago, I had a dream that I was sitting in your Parisian apartment with you and the band. I was like, oh my gosh, kid you not. And I have never, oh my gosh, I'm going to totally embarrass myself. But I was literally in your Parisian apartment having drinks. I think we were having wine or champagne or something with you and your band. So I was like, well done. She's got to be on 360.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. So one of the things that I do at the end of my shows is a segment called Picks. And basically, it's a fun little section where you can share with the listeners your pick for the day. And a pick is your favorite book or a favorite TV show, a favorite film, whatever you want to share.
Okay, I think my favorite movie, which is not actually my favorite, but I think the movie who really did something to me, like deep, and actually that's one of the reasons I did Rose Away, because my partner has the same reference, and it was definitely The Fifth Element.
Okay.
And I think it's a great movie, like, because of it's a project, like it's great in terms of the story is great, the actors are great, the whole dimension is so special, like you never seen that before, and the clothes are amazing. And yeah, that's the movie I like, but I don't know if I should say that. I don't know, it doesn't feel like really intellectual, I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't have to be.
But yeah, talking about Rose Away, I will definitely say The Fifth Element. And that's funny because we definitely did Rose Away because of this movie. And the first costume we were wearing was because of this movie. And we went to a modelist and say, we want something kind of vintage and future, like in The Fifth Element. And she said, okay, I have something for you. And that's so funny because last week we played a show in Boston and we opened for a great band named Oh It Dead, which I love. I think it's the best name for a band. And the singer, who is amazing, said to me, you remind me a girl, but don't take it wrong, but you remind me the opera singer, the alien opera singer of The Fifth Element. I was like, are you kidding me? That's so funny. So that's why I said that to you. The Fifth Element is definitely a movie, my pick for this episode.
Perfect. I love it. And if somebody wanted to follow you or get in touch with you or be abreast of the latest music tour, where should they go?
On my Instagram, for sure. I really try to answer to everybody. Sometimes I'm kind of late, but you can definitely send me message or DM, sorry. And if I don't answer in the 2 days, just send another message and I will definitely get back to you.
Yeah, you are definitely so active on Instagram. You're always posting. Oh my goodness. Very consistent. Yeah. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for carving time to be with me and for being with my listeners. And I've learned a lot. Thank you for being so honest and open and sharing your story. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. Please go to heidikbegay.com/contact and let's connect. If you need guidance in terms of your musical career, please do not hesitate to reach out. I have been helping musicians for years navigate their careers, and I would love to help you do the same. Let me help you find your unique voice on and off the stage today. Schedule a 15-minute discovery call to see how I can help you. Please go to heidikbegay.com/contact or calendly.com/HeidiKBegay and let's talk. The links are in the show notes below. Talk to you soon. Let's talk about flute.